Good morning to you, my friend. Welcome back to the Higher Grounds podcast, coming to you on this fine Monday morning. I hope you're catching it when it comes out early on Monday. And Matt and I are just going to sit around the table today, just fellowship a little bit. And I appreciate hearing from you and you, the fact that you enjoy our antics from time to time and enjoy us just cutting up. And then, of course, occasionally giving you a little something along the way to be a help and a benefit to you. But Matt and I were sitting in the office a while ago just talking, and we've been shooting, recording some podcast today. And I said, let's just go sit down with our folks and talk to them just a little bit. We want to thank you for tuning in. We really do mean that. We want to thank you for being faithful to come by. We're trying our best to try to lay down some material for you and for your family, not just for the nasty now and now, but for the future as we continue to put out morning minute meditations, the quotes of the day, along with our episode once a week, and occasionally with a righteous rant or Big K's Corner or some other program episode that we bring to you. I hope it's been a help and a blessing to you. But Brother Matt, thank you for being so kind to join me today.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but I sure am glad you come by every week.
We enjoy sitting around a table fellowshipping. We do. And I think that's what we're missing today, folks, fellowshipping.
I do too. And of course, I been studying Baptist history as of late. And one of the things, particularly, and this is everywhere with all Baptists through history, but in the 1500s around Zurich, in Zurich, there was a man by the name of Ulrich Zwingli who was a reformer, but he had some men that began to follow some of his teachings, and then they found out, of course, hey, there may be more to this. Griebel was one, Mans was another. They became Baptists. Eventually, they were martyred for the cause of Christ. But one of the things that really identified those early guys was the fact that they would go house to house, and they would have a lot of fellowship, and the discussions were around the Word of God. And we want to talk about that just a little bit today. I have had the privilege, you have too, of meeting a lot of guys and traveling a lot of places, fellowshipping with a lot of people. Generally speaking, for you in fellowship with preachers, basically, what is the tenor of the conversation with a lot of preachers, would you think?
Well, we got two. We like to swap war stories.
Yeah.
We swap old war stories, and then we talk about things that happen in our churches or may have heard happen in other churches. That's just hilarious. That's just funny, and a lot of those you wouldn't. Matter of fact, we was talking about one earlier that a young gentleman told me, young evangelist, we're not going to believe unless we see it.
That's right.
We got to be there to see it, or we ain't going to believe it.
We ain't going to believe it. Yeah.
So we got faith. We just ain't putting some of our faith in some of the stories.
I'm not sure we have any faith in him, though. Yeah. At least that story.
Yeah.
You hear some things from time to time, and when you think about it, you really realize the possibility of the squirrel going berserk in the first self-righteous church with Ray Stevens could possibly have been
True.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, we got to anything we can do in ours to get it excited and livened up. We're for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're for it.
Including gaffes, mistakes, all those kinds of things.
Did you say gas?
No, gaff. Gaff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm introducing a new word into your vocabulary.
Yeah, I need a definition for that.
Well, that's why they make dictionaries.
Yeah. Okay, Siri.
So what are some funny things that you've seen in church?
Well, right before I took the church I'm at now, Gordon Heights Baptist Church, there was a lady behind the pulpit singing, and that Sunday morning, we still sat on this. My wife still sits on the same pew we sat in when we first come in the doors of the church, the second pew on the left side of the church at the pulpit. Well, no, it's the second pew, and so they was like, "Preacher, won't you sit behind the pulpit this morning on the platform?" And said, "Well, you just come right." I said, "I'll just sit right here. I just gonna sit right here." And man, we ain't been there a few services. And so the lady's up at the pulpit, and she's singing the song, and I'm going over my notes like preacher sat down on the pew. There's while the service is going on, taking care of all the preliminaries, just going through my notes, trying to refresh up on everything. I'm just looking, and my wife hits me, and I look, and I don't see what's going on. She said her skirt fell down. I said, her skirt fell down. I said, anybody see it? She said, no. And so I said, she never stopped singing. Stephanie said, all she did was
pull it
back up. And so after I took the church a year or so after, I asked this lady about it. She said, preacher, I went home that morning and I threw that skirt away. I didn't get to see it, but it would have been bad if I'd have been sitting behind the platform that morning.
Let me tell you a funny one. This happened years ago. I wasn't even preaching at the time. There was this lady in a particular church that we used to visit often, and she was, how do you say it, quite healthy. This was a quite healthy lady. I mean, very healthy. I mean, healthy enough for 2 or 3 people. And so she went on this kick that she was going to lose weight. And so, boy, she did. I mean, she did a fantastic job of losing weight. And she had been way on up there and lost a lot of weight. She was one of the funniest creatures God ever made. She had no volume control, and you couldn't embarrass her. She didn't care. And so revival took place. We come visit the revival, and she was walking out. And when she was walking out, poor lady, she had lost all that weight. She coughed one good time, and she was dressed modestly. Well, her unmentionables fell down around her ankles, and she likened to have tripped. And without missing a beat, she just reaches right down, picks them up, said, well, they fell off, and put them right in her pocketbook and walked right out the door of the church.
Never cracked a smile, never read.
Yeah, she laughed about it. I mean, she wasn't, she was not an embarrassing type person.
So it didn't even bother her?
Yeah, all kind. I'm going to tell you, I don't know.
Did you shake her hand at the back door?
No, sir.
Good to see you, sis.
Good to see you, sis. A preacher you and I both know. This has been years ago. He was walking out of he was with another preacher I knew. He was walking out of this restaurant, or walking through the restaurant carrying a tray. And he coughed. He had lost a little weight. He coughed, old man, coughed. And his britches fell down around his ankles. When they did, he hollered at the preacher and said, preacher, get my britches. He said, hand me a tray, you get your own britches.
Since we're speaking about britches,
yeah,
we was at church probably, I don't know, about 6 months ago.
Yeah,
and I bought a suit. I don't wear the pants. I don't wear it a lot because I don't like the way the coat does. And so I mixed matched the coat and the pants.
Yeah.
And so this is a little thin suit. I mean, I don't make suits like they used to. So I got this suit. I don't wear it much, but I wore it that day. And I was getting in my car. I done preached that morning and was going to the restaurant to eat. And as I was getting in my car, it ripped.
Yeah.
The seat of my britches. Well, I'm 60 miles from home. I don't have an extra pair of pants.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for pants to match my suit coat, and I couldn't find none. And so I told her, I said, what am I going to do? She said, I'll go all the way home and get you. I said, no, don't worry about it. So I stood behind the pulpit the whole time. I never moved. I never sat down. And I took my coat and tied it around me. And so the whole night service, I'm standing behind the pulpit, would not move, would not fellowship with nobody. And I stayed behind the pulpit. I didn't go to the back door and shake hands. I stayed behind the pulpit. Everybody left. We got my card and went home.
Did you tell anybody about it?
I don't remember if I did or not. I just got my car. We went home.
Let me tell you my split your britches kind of story. So I was preaching at the Wayne County Boot Camp in Wayne County, Tennessee, for Brother Dickie Reynolds, who was he was a Rock of Ages chaplain there at that boot camp. So I was in a big way of preaching, boy. I was a preaching, and boy, I made this one great big leap. Whoosh. Yep, whoosh, split the whole seat of my britches out right there at the prison.
Is it the first time that's ever happened?
Yeah.
Last time
and last time it's ever happened too. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The first and last time. I've seen some strange stuff. Somebody told me about this preacher one time. He was bad about playing practical jokes on his wife. And if it's a lie, somebody else told it. I don't even remember who it was told about. Said that he was bad about playing practical jokes on his wife. And his wife always packed his clothes to go to meeting, and she'd always put a handkerchief in his pocket of his suit, and he was accustomed to going in that pocket and pulling it out and waving his hanky. Well, what she did was she put a pair of her stockings down in his coat pocket. And so he was up preaching real big, and when he reached in there to grab his hanky, he grabbed her stockings, waving her stockings.
But that went over well.
Yeah, it went over real good.
We talk about things we've seen in church. What's the things you heard in church?
Some things I've heard in church I cannot repeat. I'm just being honest with you. I was up preaching one day and talking about how that I was preaching on Hannah and Samuel, preaching about how it was on Mother's Day, how God is going to give Samuel to Hannah, and I was preaching in a big way, talking about how the fruit of of a woman's womb is the reward of God to her. And so I was preaching in a big way, and I said, and the Bible said that the fruit of the loom is the reward of the Lord. And
Fruit of the loom.
And so, they got quite hilarious about that one.
Yeah. Well, we've already had to do one take in the show, so I don't know.
Yeah, we've already had a gaff in this show.
So
Gaff, new word there.
Was that? But have we done this deja vu?
This is the second time I've used the word gaff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know because I didn't know if it was during the first take one.
No.
Because our second take.
Yes, it is.
So I don't know if I should tell
Which story?
What I heard.
Is it bad?
I don't know what you.
What's your definition of bad is?
Well, I don't know. It's about that song. I'm a winner either way.
Wiener either way.
Yeah. Old guy stood up, testified, and said, "I think so and so needs to get back behind the piano and sing. I'm a wiener either way."
Did he say that? Hey, I'll tell you one. Here's one. We had a man at our church years ago, no longer here, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say thank God or not. But anyway, he said this. He was singing, "I'd rather have Jesus," and when it says, "I'd rather have Jesus than men's applause," he literally was singing, "I'd rather have Jesus than menopause." he thought, that's dummy. Read the book. So there are some crazy things. And if you're a preacher and you preach 3 times a week or however many times a week, you're going to somewhere along the line, you're going to say something that's going to embarrass you or something you shouldn't have said. I remember my dad was waxing eloquent one time during an altar call. This is an altar call trying to get people saved, and the illustration was he'd gone to the cemetery, and he went to the cemetery where my granddad was buried, and there was a grave right there of a very, very young person, and he was illustrating how it doesn't matter, what your age is. I mean, you could die, and so he was trying to stress that this invitation time, heavy message, heavy foreboding of conviction. He said, Dad said, we went out to the cemetery where my wife's husband's buried. Well, Dad, you are your wife's husband. Well, he caught it.
He catch it.
He caught it. He said, where my wife's buried. I went where my wife's buried. So he buried himself and he buried my mama in the same setting.
So they're ghosts.
Yeah, that's right. I've seen people die.
I've not seen that.
Of course, most people have seen somebody faint at church. You ever seen anybody faint at church? I've seen that a few times, several times. But we were in a meeting years ago, man, and this guy is going at it. And when he first got up there, he said, I haven't been feeling real good lately. He said, I went to the doctor today, feeling okay. He said, I'm going to get up here and try to preach for a few minutes. And if I don't feel too well, I'll sit down. He said, but I will try. Well, he got to preaching. And he got to preaching forevermore some kind of good. And he was preaching up and down the aisle and across the front. And and had was telling about how God had blessed him with a good wife and with his family, and his wife and family was there. And he was talking about how good God had been to him down through the years in the ministry. And he got up on the platform and he said, "I'm feeling like preaching now." And he stepped behind the pulpit, and I looked down at my Bible, I heard a thump, and looked up, and he fell over dead. Right there. I mean, right after saying, "I'm feeling like preaching now." And I rushed to the front, and when I got to the front, it was obvious that he was gone, had a massive heart attack. But I didn't find out till later that he had said for years that when he died, he wanted to die standing behind the pulpit.
Wow.
And he preached all over that congregation, and he did not pass away until he stepped back up there and stepped right behind the pulpit.
How old was this gentleman?
I'd say he was close to 70, probably.
Okay.
Early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Yeah. And it's just one of those things, you know.
Yeah.
It was unique.
Have you ever seen anybody fighting in church, fist fighting?
Yeah, I did one time.
You did it, or you seen it doing?
Yeah, but I was a kid.
Yeah. Well, we used to fight in the church yard, play football and basketball and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so that's okay.
Yeah.
No, I've seen some altercations that got heated, but I've never seen anybody throw a punch.
Yeah, I was the same way. We was at the matter of fact, there was several times we've had to deal with this few folks that were going outside having secret meetings. And they were arguing because of some things that was going on, and so I don't know if they thought that was going to be the best way to handle it. And so keep it out of everybody's sight. They go out there and argue. They'd come in. And then church was over here one day, and somebody come to me and said, "You need to go so-and-so." So I went and got them in the office, talked to them, thought we had the situation resolved. We thought everything was going to be fine. That next Wednesday night, well, they made a few comments in the office that was kind of heated about fighting, going outside fighting. Well, the next Wednesday night at church, I'm at the back door shaking hands, and all I hear is a bunch of rustle going on and men standing in between them, and they're about to go.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're about to throw some fists.
And nuts.
Yeah, in the church.
That's
in front
crazy.
Of God and everybody.
In front of God and everybody. Like you're ever not in front of God and everybody.
Never not.
Yeah, but I've seen a few things that have happened, arguments down through the years, and of course, when you put people together, it don't matter if it's at the job. I mean, you saw people get upset with one another on public work. I did too, because whenever you put, it's not church, it's people. I remember one of the guys that's on the left-hand side of the aisle, that's fighting against, independent Baptists and unaffiliated Baptists and all that kind of stuff. And there are some things that have been downright silly and stupid down through the years. I'll agree with that wholeheartedly. But one guy was just absolutely, berating and raking Baptists. And when I got him on the phone, was talking to him and settled, the fact that what he believed about me wasn't so, he said, how can I garner more people, to listen to this message, about this abuse or whatever? And I said, here's what you don't understand. I said, I was in the business world, and abuse and bad behavior is everywhere. It's not a Baptist problem. It's not a Methodist problem, a Pentecostal problem. It's not a Catholic problem. It's a people problem.
Yes, sir.
We're depraved. We are depraved, sinful human beings. And so whenever you put people together, there are going to be funny things, humorous things that happen naturally.
Naturally fun.
And then there's going to be things that happen that are wicked and filthy and ungodly. And you're going to hear about that. You heard about it in the days of the apostles. You just go to 1 Corinthians 15 or 1 Corinthians 5 with a man who's messing around with and in incest with what we're assuming was his stepmother,
yes, sir.
His father's wife.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna have that because people are people and
yes,
people
sir.
are wicked.
Yep.
And I don't know why, but of course, even wicked people who have no intention of getting right with God sometimes gravitate toward church for whatever reason. And I think sometimes they're a plant of the devil.
Yeah. Well, you think about it. Some of the most meanest people you know is church people.
And the best.
Some of the best people you know, and some of the craziest people
you
know.
got that right.
People. We know some crazy church people.
Oh, I have seen some crazy mess.
Social media makes it easy to pick on folks.
I saw a guy one time slap a preacher.
I ain't never seen that.
And it wasn't fighting. I mean, he walked up on the platform. He's crazy. Dude walks up on the platform. I don't mean to say that in an irreverent way, using the word dude, but he was a dude. He stepped up on the platform, and he looked at this preacher, and he said, God told me to do this, and slapped the evermore taste out of the man's mouth and ran and dove off the platform, took off running.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we use that. We use that a lot too in the church. Well, I just felt led of the Lord, or God told me to do that.
Yeah.
What would you have done if a guy come up to you and said, "The Lord I just felt very impressed that the Lord want me to do this to you"?
Yeah. I got a sneaking suspicion 1 John 1:9 would have some kind of play in my life before the end of the evening.
Well, I'm glad the Lord told you that, because this is what the Lord told me to do.
That's exactly right. And this dude was crazy. And later on in that week, he approached another preacher. And why they allowed him to continue to stay on the grounds, I have no idea. I mean, I would have run his tail off a long time, forevermore, sooner than that.
Yeah.
But he went up to a preacher and he said, "Preacher, do you think God would have me to do, whatever God tells me I'm supposed to do?" "Yes, sir. Whatever God tells you, young man, you need to do." He said, "Well, God told me to kiss you in the mouth." He said, "I don't think God told you. I don't think God told you to do that."
No.
A
while ago, you said this dude was crazy. You said, I don't mean that irreverently. And I thought,
No, I said dude.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about because he was crazy.
No,
And so you just called him crazy again. And so
I was talking about the word dude.
okay.
He is crazy.
Okay.
Certifiably straight jacket.
Certificate and everything.
Yeah. Electroshock therapy.
I got you now.
Yeah. I remember one time it's another fella.
Same church.
Same outfit. Yeah. So we was preaching up north, and this guy, he somehow made it up to this meeting, and so the pastor that's running the meeting doesn't know this guy, and he got issues. This dude has issues, and so a pastor said, "We're looking for somebody to stay underneath the tent tonight and watch over the sound equipment and everything. We want to make sure that nobody steals it through the night." And this guy volunteered, and so the pastor, knowing what church he's from or whatever, says, "Yeah, brother, you stay." Well, the next morning when they got the tent and rolled the flaps up, went underneath the tent, he's laying there asleep on the platform. Piano's gone, sound system's gone. Everything they had was gone.
They robbed him blind.
Yeah, they had robbed him blind while he's laying there snoring on the platform.
He's sleeping hard.
We got there's some stories to tell out there, friend. There are some.
I must not been in it that long. I ain't got all them cool stories like you got.
You'll have them eventually if you stay with it long enough and travel long enough.
Well, I learned this today. When we make the statements, just do whatever the Lord tells you to do in the middle of church service. I ain't going to make that.
The question is, what Lord are we talking about?
Lord
That's the question we want.
Just do whatever the Lord tells you to do.
That's right. Yeah, I'm telling you. Whenever you put people together, there's always the chance for something great to happen. Then there's always the chance for something outlandish to happen. There's always the chance for something weird to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had them come in. We've had them come in and just be weird looking and just squirrely eyed and crazy looking, and have our people standing around about ready to take them out. You know how it goes when you're dealing with people. When you're dealing with people, something all the time.
Yes, sir.
That could happen. So it's funny though.
It is.
I have enjoyed serving the Lord. There's plenty of stories to tell. Plenty of. If I write a book about some of this stuff, I'll have to write it as a ghostwriter with a different name. Oh, I told you. Ever tell you the one about the camp meeting where you eat and sit down, eat and sit down, eat and sit down. And when you do that, I mean, your stomach's in a mess. I mean, for a week, and they used to run those meetings for a week, 3 services a day. And this poor family had been up there, up and down, eating up and down, up and down, up and down. And poor young girl, I think I told this on here before, poor young girl that was a part of the singing group, while they were all testifying, put the microphone around behind her back and held it behind her back. poor person. It's
Did they ever finish singing?
yeah, they got finished.
They were done.
yeah, they got finished. All right. Yeah. Hey, drinking coffee today.
Praise God.
Praise the Lord. We're drinking coffee from Wawa. Wawa. See, a lot of people don't know what the Wawa is. You go up north, you'll find the Wawas. They're kind of like a Sheetz down here or like a QT down here. You go up into Canada, you'll find the Wawa.
Wawas.
And they make great coffee and have their own, some of them have their own coffee shops and such. And so this was sent in by Miss Claire. Thank you, Miss Claire, for sending this in. And I appreciate you sending this our way. She's always good to send us thank you notes for the podcast. Miss Clara, thank you.
Amen.
And wish you and your whole family, your mom, dad, brothers, and sisters, a great, great day in the Lord. And thank you so much for sending coffee. And if you send it,
we'll drink it.
We'll drink it. That's a promise. Go get the most expensive coffee you can find and send it to us. We'll call your name out
Sure enough.
on the Higher Grounds podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We've just sat around and gabbed and not done much of anything today. You're not going to be helped a lick spiritually from any of this today. But what we are doing is just letting you know we're humans. We enjoy life and we enjoy serving the Lord. And I hope we brought you just a little bit of humorous relief today. Hey, God bless you, friend, and I will see you next week.